Welcome again to What I Did Next from A&T Media. I'm Malak Fuad. I welcome a new guest from the region on each episode, and we take a deep dive into their lives' most pivotal moments. On today's episode, internationally acclaimed artist Ghada Amer tells me about the creative fuel behind her work.
Anger is a very big motivation for me. Yeah. I was extremely angry by still angry with the
With
woman.
what was being forced on you.
This, and in the same time in Egypt, what's happening? So I said, where can I go? There's nowhere I can go. There is woman condition is all over the world a problem, and I have to talk about it. So I have decided not to paint. This was a decision not to use the painting because this was a men's.
So it was like a protest.
Yes, this is a men's world. So I need to invent a woman's work, not to invent, but to use something that a woman would use and to make painting with it.
So you picked embroidery.
So I picked embroidery.
Ghada Amer is a multidisciplinary artist who is as comfortable working with a needle and thread as she is with a paintbrush, to forging steel for sculptures, to working on one-of-a-kind garden installations. Born in Cairo, Ghada moved to France at a young age and spent her formative years there. I found Ghada to be very French in her philosophy for life, even though she has found creative and artistic success in the United States. Ghada began exhibiting her work in the 90s, and her art continues to focus on women equality and female sexuality. She's now based in New York, where she sometimes collaborates with longtime friend Reza Fakhondi. She's a much sought-after and celebrated artist who continues to push boundaries and test limits. I found myself relating to Ghada on many levels. We're both children of Egyptian parents, we're raised in Europe, and we can see our countries of origin and our adopted countries with a bird's-eye view of outsiders. We have both been admirers of Western values, but are today horrified by the hypocrisy of Western governments towards injustice in the Middle East. I have often lamented my lack of creativity, and I'm always in awe of those with such fierce natural talent. Ghada's passion for her work and her need to convey her message is all-consuming, and she's willing to forego comfort and conformity in order to produce her art. Ghada's journey towards becoming the artist she is today started at an early age as she began exploring her identity.
So I grew up in France. I thought I was a little French, and I rejected totally like Egypt because everybody in France as well was mocking us as being Arabs, and so I wanted to not being the Arab.
Of course.
And so when I came here, I was shocked. Poverty, of course, sexual harassment, women as well speaking about Islam in a way that was never before heard, especially in terms of how to dress, how to be, and this will save us, and everybody year by year was starting to wear the veil until my own mother wore the veil, and I couldn't understand, and I was like, why do you do this? No, it's our culture. So for me, I rejected totally. It's like, no, this is not my culture. I'm not going to do this. I feel fine. So I thought the Egyptian and the Muslim population were backward. So for me, it was like, there's no way I'm going to come back to this. Don't treat the woman. I thought, right, it's not fair. Here in France, they are liberated. And I was like,
yeah.
Until I went to art school. When I graduated very early at the age of 17. I had a big depression, and I wasn't supposed to be an artist. I like more math, but I always liked to draw. I got a huge depression. I didn't even know what it was, so I couldn't even go to university. And the only thing that calmed me down was to draw.
Okay.
So my father told me, oh, there is something called art school. You should try it like this. So I went to take the exam. I failed. Mm-hmm. And you are only allowed to take twice the exam. But when I went to art school, I felt, oh, this is where I belong. I really felt.
It's amazing how that can be. Huh?
Yeah. I prepared it for 3 years of preparation. The second time I got in. And then in the first year, you just have general, you do everything, and then you specialize in the third year.
Yes.
So in the third year, I decided to become a painter. So I went to the first day to the painting class, and the teacher, he said, no, wait. And then he made everybody enter, all of the men and all of the women. He told them, no, you don't come to the class. I don't teach painting to women.
Oh, wow.
And I was
And this is
in Nice in
and what year? This is 86.
1986, exactly.
This is not the 19th century.
1986 in France, and this was a very, I almost was like, I was choking almost. I couldn't believe.
And how many women were in the
Three.
class?
We were three, which
Three
was a
of
very,
you.
it's a very, if you, and then he said, if you want to learn, you have to ask the men that I'm going to teach, and they will teach you. And it was so demeaning.
Of course.
And I was like, what? Wait a minute, why? So I went to the library, first thing. And then I told the librarian, please, I want to know, to find the book that speaks about women artists.
And there wasn't one.
She said, what? Women artists? There's not that we can. I told her, okay, let's look in the art history, all of the women, because I started to realize that all of the people that I'm studying, Leonardo da Vinci, whoever, Matisse, Picasso,
yeah.
like
They're
you
all
name
men,
it,
all
all men. And I was like,
wow.
so I realized that I have been brainwashed. There was no woman. Now we speak about women and all of this, but there was none in the art history. They didn't even exist. So for me, this was a big moment. This was the injustice. So, and then I said, okay, there's a problem with women. It's not a problem of Muslim world or Arabic or Egypt. They just are hiding it in another way. There is a big problem.
And at the time, Ghada, do you know if other professions were segregated like this as well? Did they approach things like this in the law faculty?
No, I don't know.
You don't know.
No, I don't know, but I don't think so, because in the other schools,
There are women.
there are women, and they could study painting. It's this particular
yeah.
man. It's this particular man that does. I don't know. He
Yeah.
was like very insecure or whatever.
But this is interesting because this really ignited for you your path in art.
It absolutely did, because I have been so for 3 years, because I wanted. He ignored me. He failed me in the painting class.
But how did you get in the end to the class? How did you
I
persuade
didn't get.
him?
I never get into the
You
class.
never went in the end.
No, I never.
So you were getting the information from the men students.
Yes, from the male students, from other artists, from.
And how was it that the university accepted this?
I don't know.
That's very strange. Yeah.
They were not happy, but it was not. It was. What
It wasn't
can we
that
do?
shocking for them.
What can we do?
Yeah.
Wasn't like now where.
Yes.
If this
Where
happened,
everyone protests for
protesting
everything.
or I mean, it was. I think this suffocated me as well.
Yes.
Because I was like, you don't think it's not fair?
Yes. Yes.
And they were
yes.
like,
yeah.
you know, yeah, it's not fair, but you know, like, what can we like?
Yeah.
No, like, what can we do?
So this then began your political awakening, actually.
Yes, exactly.
It was an awakening for you, and
Feminist.
you realized your feminism, of course. And this is how you decided to direct your art.
This was the only way.
The only way for
This
you.
was the only way, because I not only this guy didn't teach women. Okay, one guy, maybe I could have changed school or something. But what I realized is in all of my books there was no women. And this was for me, and not only that, and I was not even aware of it. This was the worst part.
Yes, you had just taken it as fact.
No, I didn't even think about it.
You didn't even think about it. So how did you make the art become a profession? How did it develop for you?
You know, I told you that I got depressed, and I went to art school, and this was, I felt very happy there, and I had hard time to get out of school. Even with this condition, I loved my school. In another, it really was a great school in another area.
Yes,
really, because they were teaching us how to think, and this was very important. Art history, even with all of this problem, we could it was a great school. And I wasn't French. I am French now. I'm citizen. But at the time, they refused to me 3 times to become French. So I couldn't have a job, really. I couldn't have residencies at the time. It was very difficult. For some reason, I couldn't find anything. I was extremely poor. So I decided I have to find a job and not become an artist. It's okay, or like do it like this as a hobby. So I tried to find whatever I could as jobs. And I didn't paint for 9 months, but I started to get very depressed again.
And so you went back to the depression, of course.
Yes. So I said to myself, okay, it's better to be poor very poor, but happy.
But happy, yeah.
So I decided that I'm going to continue anyway. So this is where I need to become an artist. This is what I'm going to become. I didn't even think that we can make money out of it. It was just a choice of life for me.
But you were still in France.
Yes,
You
yes,
were
yes.
still working in France.
I worked in
Okay.
France after I graduated, and I had some shows in
And
France.
some shows in France.
I
Okay.
didn't have much sales. It was
Yeah.
very difficult.
Difficult time.
And it was people as well were not to be a feminist in France at the time was like to be a communist in America during
During the 50s.
the 50s. So it was very and of course to paint with embroidery was not
Not understood.
Not understood. It was just not what people would do at the time. That's it. So I had to. It was difficult. I wanted to leave France. I said, this is not for me. I am poor. I have nothing to lose anyway. So I'm going to go to the US because my sister was studying and teaching at the US. So I was always, I went a lot to the US. And I discovered MoMA and all of this, and even like a lot of feminist writing. So I was very interested in going to the USA.
Yes. So let's talk about UNESCO, because you said to me that this was a big break for you. It gave you worldwide recognition.
Yes.
You were able to earn more money, which is obviously vital.
Yes.
And did it kickstart for you another phase?
It was not really. The price was great, but the exposition was even as well great because it was the Venice Biennial, and it was the first time that as well there was a lot of artists from outside the Western world that were shown in the big biennial, and things have been happening slowly, I must say, to accept other artists from other cultures, because all of the art was Eurocentric.
Yes.
Even though I studied in France, and even though many of my colleagues that are from from Europe or from America have studied in America, we were never accepted as in the same level. We're still not really accepted in the same level into my eyes, but it's much better.
But it's gotten better. Yeah.
Much better.
Yeah.
And this actually, believe it or not, has started in France.
Interesting.
This movement, it started with a French curator called Jean-Hubert Martin, who was the director of the Beaubourg, Centre Georges Pompidou in France, and he did a show called Les Magiciens de la Terre. This show was in 1987 or 88. And I went from Nice to visit the show because it was making a big problem, and he got fired.
Why? What was?
Because the show called the Magician of the Earth, and he redefined the art. He said, why the art should be only Eurocentric? He's the first one who I am going to send 5 people in the 5 continents, and they have to ask what is art they have to ask and they to bring me samples of what they are making art, contemporary art.
Yes.
And then he decided to show together with old masters like Picasso, Matisse, and then with the African mask with the Picasso African mask. Sorry, he stole the idea.
Yeah.
So this was a very shocking show. The Jean-Hubert got fired or got put aside to another museum, to the Museum of Natural History. It was very funny, where he made a very big impact. He's a great curator. And then people started to think about this. It was like the first.
It was the beginning, the seed.
Yes. And actually, Jean-Hubert has made, with other big director of museum, had made a school where I got accepted in the school after my graduation of European and non-European to think about the art. It was a think tank, kind of. It was called Institut des Hautes Études en Arts Plastiques. And then we, with Jean-Hubert Martin, this is how I got to know him, and we talked about all of this. And then slowly by slowly, this idea was growing, and then Harald Zeman, who is German, he made the show, the first show, big show, the second, because I consider Magicien de la Terre the first, of all of this art. It was called Aperto Tutto. door open for everybody. And it was all of the non-European artists were there. And then somebody got the Lion Prize. I got the UNESCO Prize.
Yeah. When we come back, Ghada tells me about exploring a new medium, working in bronze, and how anger continues to fuel her creative expression. That's after this break. Welcome back to my conversation with artist Ghada Amer. What's your favorite medium to work in?
No, I like all mediums.
You don't have a favorite?
No, I don't. They are all interesting. Yes, there's no favorite. Like, I can tell you what I'm not. I don't like video.
When you're working, do you feel that you have phases in your life? For example, the embroidery was an early phase. I mean, are we going to look at your body of work in 100 years and say, Ghada's early phase was embroidery, her late phase was bronze? Is that how we'll
I hope not.
do people think that way, or
I don't know what they think.
Is that how you're working now, or do you
No, I
go
still
back
do
and forth to
embroidery.
everything?
And you know why I still do embroidery? Because I can do it now. I have invented this medium.
Yes.
I'm not embroidery, but the way I utilize embroidery in my work, I have perfected it. But for years, for 30 years, I created the alphabet. I created how to, and then now I can do it. So what I do now is I'm doing my masterpieces in embroidery. You know, so I am making everything. I can do it now. I can paint finally with it in very
because you've mastered it.
Yes. When I started bronze, I didn't even want to start bronze. It was not my idea, but I was kind of forced to do it, and I fell in love with it. I fell in love with
Why were you forced to do it?
Because I was supposed to be in a show in Qatar, and with my embroidery. And I didn't want to do it. I actually didn't want to do embroidery because I knew that all of my naked women would not be, they would not.
They wouldn't use them.
Like I would have been pigeonholed in another way, and it was not about sexuality. My work is about painting and about the exclusion of women, about painting, and it would have been a big misunderstanding.
They would have misrepresented it.
Yes. So I was, but they still wanted me to participate. So Sheikh Hassan, who is very generous, he told me, okay, you can, I give you money, you just explore something you have never done before.
How did that make you feel?
Scared.
Was that exciting?
No, scared.
Scared.
Very scared. I told him, but if I use the money and I don't, I fail. You know, I'm you know, I'm not, I don't know what I'm going to do. Yeah. Maybe it's going to be a big flop. He told me it's okay. Don't worry about it.
What freedom. Wow. That's an amazing freedom.
Freedom. Scary. Scary. Very scary. And very really interesting. Yes. So I started to do, I had an idea. I just wanted to work with the shadows.
This was bronze.
Yes.
How?
This was the whole. So I decided to work with words and to use the 100 words of love in Arabic. In Arabic, you know, there is 100 words to say love. And because we were in this post area of Bush, where the Arabs, the Muslims, the post-Iraq, we were horrible. We were like, we had no culture.
Post
we were like, yes,
post 9/11.
Yeah. So I decided to use this. So I went to, when I wanted to do this, I didn't do bronze. I just wanted to make a sculpture that is hollow and that project shadows that are important, and to use this 100 words of love. This was basically so I went to a guy that I had met, a sculptor actually. He's fabricator for artists too. So we discussed, and then I worked with him to develop the idea until I got I made my sculpture, painted, and with plastic. It was with resin.
Resin.
So resin plastic. And then my dealer saw it, and she told me, it's beautiful, but I cannot sell it because it's resin. I need you to do bronze. Huh. I told her, I've never been in a foundry. I don't think I can do bronze. I was like, no, it's easy.
So that started a new medium for you.
Yes, and she sponsored me.
Yeah.
So I got double. Other than that, I would have never, like, she paid
For you to do that.
to
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
this with
Yeah.
something that I had no idea what I was, no idea.
Let's move on, Ghada, and talk about your partnership with Reza
Yes,
Farkhonde.
yes,
You share a studio in New
yes,
York.
yes,
Why?
yes.
And how does that influence your work, sharing a space with another artist?
So I met Reza in school.
Yes.
And at the time, I was telling you that it was all Eurocentric. I was
Yes.
very surprised to see an
An
Iranian.
Iranian.
Yeah, and then we just became very good friends and spoke about, like, oh, how it is Eurocentric and this. And then we went to see the Magicien de la Terre together. And he as well got inside this school, this French school, where this think tank institute. So we were very
Connected on this way.
and then we had met other artists from Iran, from like not the center of the world, like, and the center of the world, Germany, Yugoslavia, whatever,
Yeah.
Russia at the time. And we had the great discussions, like, was very intellectually very this was, and he wanted to come to America as well, and me too. So we helped each other to go to America.
Yes.
And then we had to share studios, and then we shared studios and all of this. So like, since I graduated, I am we share studio, we
Yes.
share idea, we are
And it influences each other's work.
yes.
And you've worked together on pieces.
Yes, we collaborate together on pieces, and we collaborated, and it was as well. It started with as well an incident of depression, but from his side.
Yes.
Where he started it. He started to paint on my canvas without being invited. So this was as well something that I had not planned to do, but I kept it.
Yes.
And he didn't want to be acknowledged, so I signed on his behalf, RFGA. And then later, when he got well, I told him, we have to sign your own name. It's a collaboration.
Yeah.
And then we started a whole drawing series. And actually, in the beginning, one of the gallery, they didn't want to have both names because it was for them my identity, or whatever they call it,
your copyright.
No, not my copyright, my brand.
Oh, your
not my
brand.
So I don't care about my brand. Like,
Yeah.
they have to understand, and it was difficult. It was really difficult to sell this. Now it's okay.
Now
but
it's become more. Yeah.
like now it has become, but for years, sometimes they even
So
until now, like,
you've broken the mold many times.
many
Heather.
times, yes.
Many times.
Yes.
You've pioneered.
Yes, I said, if you are not capable of understanding this, you don't like art, because
Exactly.
it's not about how much it is, who is done it. It's about the piece.
Yeah.
What does it mean,
Yeah,
and all
yeah.
of this.
You said earlier, you're fueled by anger
Yes, I am.
as part of your inspiration. I'm very angry at the moment, as are a lot of people.
Yes.
Tell me what our region is igniting in you.
Well, I'm never in my work angry. Like, I'm angry, and I did pieces about wars and stuff like this. But when it starts, I'm not. I don't react immediately. I'm not somebody who's like, after the revolution in Egypt, like, everybody was doing work about the revolution. I was like, well, I had nothing to say. Actually, I couldn't even work that
You needed
year.
to digest it more.
Yes. So, but what I am the most scared about, because it's more I am and worried about, is to see how the Western world has become not democratic, totally biased, totally inhumane, and so I am a little bit shocked.
Yes.
As I was shocked at the time when I realized that in France there is
Yes.
no woman artist.
Yes.
So and then I am as well surprised that, on the other hand, the world that I thought it was not democratic, or it was like all of the journalists that are killed, they report, and they are killed, and for them this is not, for the Western world,
Yes.
they don't acknowledge this journalism, and the
Yeah.
other hand, their journalism is totally biased, because I can read the newspaper, and so this is what I am. It's not. This is what is very, very worrisome for me. I'm very worried because I like the Western world. It's not like
Yes.
and they are going into a path that is very bad, and especially that as well. I'm like, oh, I thought we are living in a democracy. Oh, I thought you are human rights. I thought all of this big idea that has wanted me to go and belong to the West is collapsed.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's like the masks have fallen
Yes.
and you're seeing them for what they always were. And like you, I'm a product of the West
Yes.
in a lot of ways. So for me to see what's happening here,
Yes.
I find horrifying.
Yes.
And as you said, very worrying. And I'm just curious to see down the line, maybe it will have a presence in your work. It's interesting to think
Yeah,
about.
maybe I don't
Yeah,
know. This
yeah.
is I don't plan it.
I want to talk about, in closing, Yani, your illness. You said to me 3 years ago you had breast cancer.
Yes.
How did that change your outlook? Did it change how you work? Did it change the kind of work you produce as well?
No, didn't change the kind of work. I don't know.
You're still angry.
I'm still like talking about women.
Yeah,
I'm still talking about like all of this. This is, I don't know. This is the only thing that inspires me, and until now.
until
Like
now.
this is,
Yeah,
I got sick. It was about like the life is short.
yeah,
And already I was breaking a lot of like I was grounds, and I was like and I said I want to be more free, even like I want to do whatever I want to do because I can die tomorrow. It's not it's about this fragility of life that
yeah.
has and actually, and in the same time I got sick during COVID, just before COVID.
That's a
So
difficult time to be
yes,
managing the two things.
but it was the best, I'm telling you, the best time to work. It was I did so much. I actually did opened lately 4 shows, all works that I have been doing during that time.
Is that because you had no distractions?
No distraction.
No, you
I
were
was the
alone.
most alone.
Bubble.
It's not for a lot. Some artists, they loved COVID. I mean, COVID was related like in the same time because I was sick. I was happy that COVID happened in a way because everything stopped with me.
Yeah.
So, and it gave me time to heal because I didn't, it was like, oh, I want to go to this opening. I want to go.
Yes.
Nobody was going
Yes,
anywhere.
yes. So you had
And
the time for yourself.
yes, you have the time for
Yeah.
a thing to think about my disease, the disease of the world,
Yeah.
what kind of work I want to do. Nothing mattered.
So the two, maybe COVID and the illness made you think life is short. So
Yes,
it made you want to keep going.
yes. And
Uh,
then when I turned 60,
and then when you turn 60, that's also a turning point. It's a
at the
big
very
one.
turning point, I was like, okay, at at
That
best I
was
have
more of
to.
a turning point than turning 50?
Yes,
For you, it was more
yes,
important.
yes. Turning 60 for me was is I said, like, at most I have 20 years to live, so I want to live them. I'm free. I
Yeah.
felt very
You
free
felt
as
very
well.
free.
Yes,
I think also as we get older, we let go of the things that aren't necessary. The complexes, the issues, you just khalas, finished.
yes,
You know, I am who I am and that's it.
yes. I don't know.
So are you most likely, do you think you're going to continue in the US or do you see yourself spending maybe more time here?
More time in Egypt, definitely. But the US too, because I still love it. I hope I still didn't abandon the hope that I don't know how it is going to be.
Do you think you might work here or you will
I work
still,
here.
oh, you do work
I
here?
work here. I did Khayameya projects. I always have worked here.
You always have work here.
A lot of my pieces, Salon Courbet was done here. Majnoon was done
But
here.
you don't have a studio here.
Yes, I bought the downtown as my studio before, just before
Oh,
revolution, because I had produced a lot of
I
pieces.
see.
Then when the revolution happened, it was horrible downtown. I hated it, and then I couldn't produce anything in Egypt up until 2 years ago.
Interesting. That's a very long period to not be able to feel you can work
I
here.
couldn't.
You couldn't.
I felt very insecure. I felt no, I don't know. Now I feel like there is a lot of great people doing great.
There
Really,
is a lot
oh my
going on.
God, there is a lot going
There's a
on,
grassroots movement.
and
Yeah.
there is people who can do things.
Yes.
Still, that it's lost in.
And here we have all these wonderful craftsmen.
Exactly. This is exactly.
There, it's a dying art.
Yes, it
and
is.
and we want to try and
Yes, save
maintain it.
Yeah. So I did a whole show about Hayameya
Yeah.
with using. I'm still working with them, with a designer here who I'm working with people who embroider my
Yes.
very big complicated embroidery.
We talked earlier, and it's a theme that runs through all your work, feminism. Is that today as important an issue as it was when you were starting?
No, it's important. See, yes, it's still important. For example, during the revolution, that's why I couldn't work in Egypt. For me, it was a big shock, and I was like, when I was like, what I'm saying is not very important right now. It's like, so I couldn't work. I couldn't work at all.
Because you had a block about it. You were blocked.
I was like, it's not important.
It's not important.
It's not important. Something else is important right now. It's like, I don't know where my country is going through. It's all so. For me, I couldn't talk about feminism, you know.
Looking back on your body of work so far, if someone was to say Ghada Amer is this, what would you like to be remembered for the most?
As an artist.
Generally.
Yes.
Not specific.
No.
Would you rather be remembered as an artist or someone who had a voice to say certain things?
An artist.
An artist. This is it.
That's it. I want to, like, what I say is like a pretext to paint or to do this, but my main goal is to be an artist and to make an influence in the art world of the world, not of Egypt, or I don't know if Egypt they know me anyway, but it's in the international scene.
Ghada, thank you.
You're welcome.
This is wonderful. I think we're done.
Okay, good.
Merci يا Ghada.
Raf.
شكرا.
Ghada's work has been shown at the world's finest fairs and exhibition spaces, including the Whitney Biennale, the PS1 Contemporary Art Center in New York, the Venice Biennale, where she won the UNESCO Prize, the Johannesburg Biennale, and the Istanbul Biennale, among many others. If you've enjoyed Ghada's story and want to hear more, we have a bonus episode for members where she tells me about her artistic process and what's in her creative inbox. You can subscribe on Apple Podcasts or on our website, and you'll get extra content from all our previous guests where we offer a deep dive into their worlds. Check out the link in the show notes for more. You can also find extended clips from all our episodes on YouTube and connect with us on Instagram, X, and on LinkedIn. Just search for What I Did Next. Thank you for joining me for this amazing 7th season of What I Did Next. I'm Malak Fuad, and the show is produced by Chirag Desai. We'll be back in 2 weeks for our season wrap-up. I hope you can join me then.